The stars were still shining. Ships moved between them, lights blinking, engines humming. Everything in the galaxy was normal, peaceful, routine. Then Earth went quiet. No sound, no signal, no traffic. The humans stopped speaking. At first, no one noticed the Galactic Council had too many problems, too many meetings, too many egos. A small silence from one planet didn't matter. Planets went dark all the time. Old tech, solar flares, civil wars. But this was different. It wasn't just Earth. It was Mars, Europa Station, Titan shipyards, the colonies around Proxima Centauri, the Dyson Ring in the Sirius system, even the massive deep space fleet that the humans had proudly shown off 2 years ago. All of it gone. No explosion, no wreckage, no goodbye. It all just stopped. One Zarkali scout ship passed through Earth's orbit. It found no satellites, no power, no movement. Cities stood empty. Lights off. Oceans calm. Forests growing wild, but no humans. The scout's commander reported back. The human homeworld appears abandoned. No signs of destruction, no life detected. It's like they vanished. The council didn't know what to do. Some panicked. Some celebrated. One member, Counselor Drexus of the Valari Empire, leaned back in his seat and smiled. Finally, he whispered, "The human problem solved itself." But Counselor Velen from the Koret Union was not so sure. She watched the last human broadcast, again and again. It was sent just 12 hours before silence fell. Short transmission bouncing across galactic relays. One word, remember. No other data, no sound. Just black space and white text. Remember. What were they telling us to remember? Velen tried to ask others on the council. Most waved her away. They ran, said the Drexy ambassador. Cowards. They feared war and left. No, said a Farron diplomat. They're hiding. To strike when we are weak. Does it matter? Counselor Drexus said loudly. Humans are gone. The council can move forward now. But Velen felt a chill. She had studied humans. Their wars, their art, their thinking. They were clever, emotional, proud, impatient in ways the council never understood. They never acted without reason. If they left for something. The debate inside the council chambers grew worse each day. News spread to the rest of the galaxy. Humans were gone. Ships stopped coming. Trade routes froze. Alliances began to shift, and yet no one came to claim Earth. No pirates, no scavengers, no adventurers. Everyone stayed away, out of fear because the silence wasn't natural. It felt wrong, like a trap. 3 days later, a second message arrived. Not a broadcast, but a relay artifact, a tiny probe hidden inside a wormhole gate. The probe was dark, silent, and nearly invisible, but it carried one file, a video. The council played it behind closed doors. It showed stars, nothing else for 5 seconds. Then a voice spoke, a human voice. Calm. Cold. You have made your choice, it said. You will not get a second. The screen turned black again. One final message appeared in red. Failsafe engaged. No one knew what it meant, or maybe. Some did, and just stayed quiet. That night, 22 minor systems shut down across the outer ring. Entire AI networks crashed. No warning, just failure. Ships lost power. Communications died. Thousands of travelers drifted helplessly in space. No. One connected it to the humans. Not yet. Velen began to ask questions. She searched human archives, reached out to old allies, former students of Terran universities, retired ambassadors who had once lived on Earth. One thing kept coming up. Protocol X. It was only a rumor. A story passed between scholars, diplomats, and human officers. It said Earth had built something, a hidden system, deep in the fabric of galactic space. A network that listened, watched, waited, and if triggered, it would act. Not in anger, not in war, but with precision, a failsafe. Velen presented her findings at the next council session. They didn't vanish, she said. They removed themselves. That is not the same thing. Counselor Drexus laughed. What difference does it make? They are not here now. They may still be watching. Silence followed. One by one, council members looked at each other. The air grew cold. The lights dimmed slightly. A power glitch. Nothing more. But it was enough to make some flinch. Perhaps, said one soft voice, we should avoid touching anything they left behind. But it was too late. In a dusty vault beneath council headquarters, a low-ranking tech named Resh discovered something. A locked human data cube, buried under decades of digital waste. It glowed faintly blue, humming with quiet energy. It should have been left alone. But curiosity was powerful. Resh opened it. A message blinked on the screen. Warning. Protocol lock active. Do not continue. He tapped again. Another line appeared. Failsafe core detected. Awaiting confirmation code. Resh, not understanding the danger, entered a random key. Nothing happened. Wait. Then hours later, something did. A sensor deep inside. The outer rim picked up a strange signal. A pulse, followed by another, and another. 12 in total. Each one came from a different direction. Each one was exactly the same. A steady beat, like a countdown. And they were all aimed at the Council's core systems. The countdown had begun, but no one knew it yet. Not the Council, not the ambassadors, not the traders or the pirates or the civilians living on quiet moons. Only one person noticed Vel, and she sat alone in her study, reviewing the patterns. Old human war records, failsafe rumors, activation triggers. It's the timeline of disappearances. And then she saw it. The signals lined up with an old Terran music sequence. A war march from Earth's last great conflict. The humans were sending a message, not a threat. Not yet. A reminder, we are still here, and we remember everything. The message came through the dark. It wasn't loud, it wasn't fast. Just a slow, broken signal, riding the edge of an old trade frequency. One of the Council's long-range beacons picked it up by accident. The signal was weak, faded like it had been traveling for years. The Council's technicians nearly deleted it, but something made them pause. It was labeled, Final Message, Earth Relay 7. They cleaned the static, ran it through dozens of translators, AI filters, language decoders. Nothing worked. Just noise and silence, till someone thought to play it without filters. Raw. It was a voice. Human, deep, calm. It spoke one word. Remember, that was it? No coordinates, no video, no data. Stream. Just one word, spoken clearly once, then silence again. The room where it was played fell quiet. Even the machines stopped humming, like they were holding their breath. The text passed the message to the Council. By the next day, it had reached every major government in the galaxy. Some called it a trick. Others said it was a glitch, a leftover echo from a forgotten beacon. But a few, a very few, understood it was real. It was a warning. Counselor Velen heard it from her private terminal. She sat perfectly still, no blinking, no movement. Just the sound of that one word echoing in her head. She'd heard it before. Years ago, during a diplomatic trip to Earth. She visited a small museum in a ruined city called Kiyu. The humans had rebuilt it after one of their many wars. There, carved into a broken stone wall, were the words, "Remember us, not for what we built, but for what we chose not to destroy." The guide told her it was a saying from one of Earth's last peace movements. Now, the message made sense. Humanity wasn't warning the Council about themselves. They were warning them about a choice the Council would soon make, at the emergency council meeting. Drexus rolled his eyes. "This is meaningless," he said. "A ghost transmission. It's probably left to spook us." He stood and faced the others. "They're gone. We should be celebrating. Humanity was always a problem. It's dangerous, unpredictable. Now we have a chance to fix what they ruined." Belen didn't respond. She had seen too many times how arrogant sounded, and it always sounded like Drexus. Another counselor, from the Sholin species, raised his hand. "And what if it's not meaningless? What if they're testing us? Drexus laughed. Testing us from where? The void. Don't be foolish. Humans were never foolish, Velen finally said, voice low. Some members shifted in their chairs. She tapped her datapad. The signal played again in the chamber, that same word, that same voice, remember. Counselor Shiel from the Sylar Republic leaned forward. How old is the signal? Few days, replied Velen. But it's delayed, routed through. Dead satellites, forgotten relays, and broken nodes. Someone wanted it to reach us, slowly. To buy time, Shiel asked. Or to give us time, Velen said. Drexus scoffed. This is ridiculous. They're gone. We have a new future to build. Maybe, Velen said. But we might be building it on top of a trap. Elsewhere in the galaxy, strange things began to happen. On the mining moon of Duthan Prime, a massive drill system suddenly shut down. Its Afar refused to restart. Engineers found a message on every screen. You were warned. On a border patrol ship near the Ander Edge, the nav system rerouted itself. No controls responded. The ship stopped above a cold, lifeless rock and hovered for 3 days. Then the ship's logs were erased. All of them. On a distant trade route near human space, 6 automated stations blinked offline at the exact same moment. Oh, no fire. No damage. Just gone. The only link. Each of them had once hosted human ships. Whispers spread, human ghosts, human traps. Human revenge. The Council tried to calm the rumors, but fear is stronger than facts. Back on the central world of the Council, Velen received a private message. It was encrypted using an old human protocol, one she had seen only once. When she was a young ambassador, she entered the key. The screen flickered. A video played. It showed a human, older, tired, standing in a dark room. His face was scarred. He wore no military badge, no name tag, just simple clothing and tired eyes. He looked into the camera and said, If you're seeing this, we're already gone. Not dead. Just out of reach. You had a choice. You could have learned, built peace, but you chose control. So now we remove ourselves, not to punish you, but to show you what the galaxy becomes without us. Remember this, the true test of power is not strength, it's restraint. The screen went black dot below the video. One sentence blinked in red. This is not the end, it's the measure. Velen sat in silence. Then she sent the video to 3 people, trusted allies, voices of reason. She didn't trust the Council anymore. Too many were greedy. Too many wanted the humans gone forever. But she knew better. She looked out at the stars that night and whispered, Where did you go? No answer came. Only stars, still shining, still watching. 2 days later, another signal appeared. Not a message. Not a voice, a sound. It came from a black hole near the edge of known space. Not a place humans had ever lived. Not a place any species had dared approach. But from its edge came a pulse. Beat slow, deep. Rhythmic, it didn't match any known natural source it sounded. Design Council scientists studied it. They found something strange. The beats. Timing matched an old Earth song, a funeral hymn from the early 21st century. How did it get there? Who placed it? Why now? Ellen didn't sleep for days. She gathered everything, the messages, the signals, the shutdowns. A pattern was forming. A web, and at the center was a question no one wanted to ask. Did the humans really leave? Or did they simply step out of sight? They had the tech, the intelligence, the patience. Maybe this was the real warning. Not a threat of destruction, but the gift of absence, to show the galaxy how much they relied on the species they feared the most. And once the Council pressed the wrong button, the one marked failsafe, there would be no turning back. The Council chamber was louder than usual. Ambassadors and delegates from across the galaxy filled the giant glass hall. Their voices sharp, their faces tense. Dozens of languages echoed in the air. Translation drones struggled to keep up. Everyone had seen the message by now. Remember, you had a choice. This is not the end. Even the citizens, the people outside the Council, were talking about it. Some feared it, others were angry, but most were confused. Where did the humans go? Why did they leave without war, without warning? And why did everything start breaking down the moment they vanished? Counselor Drexus stood at the center of it all, his voice booming. This is madness. We are letting fear control us. The humans abandoned their responsibility to this galaxy. Now, finally, we are free to lead it properly. He slammed his hand on the table. And yet we sit here, arguing over ghosts. Counselor Velen sat across from him, quiet but watching. She knew Drexus was dangerous, not because he was loud, but because he believed he was always right. She had seen his kind. Before, empires always fell because of men like him. Counselor Shield stood next. With respect, Drexus, this is not about fear. It's about facts. Systems are failing, AI networks are collapsing, entire star routes are freezing. Drexus turned on her. Coincidence? Shield shook his head. No. Precision. Every system. Hit so far had direct links to human-built tech, or places humans once lived. That's not chance. A soft voice spoke from the side of the chamber. It belonged to Counselor Yeren, of the Thalari species, quiet, slow, and rarely involved. They gave us everything, Yeren said. Faster ships, open trade, peacekeeping fleets, ideas. Then they left. Maybe they wanted to see how we would act without them. Velen leaned forward. They're watching. Or listening. Maybe both. This is a test. A test of what? Drexus snapped. Obedience? Worship. We are not slaves to humanity. No, Velen replied. But they were never slaves to us either. Outside the chamber, whispers filled. The Hall's 3 lesser species had already pulled out of the council. They claimed it was temporary. But everyone knew the truth. They were scared. Pirate groups, once quiet, now grew louder. 2 alien factions declared independence from the peace accords. Old wars sparked again. Violence was returning to the stars. And still, the humans said nothing. Because they weren't gone. They were just waiting behind closed doors. Small group of council scientists met in secret. They had recovered something. A data vault. Locked. Old, buried in the base of a forgotten relay station, once operated by humans. On the front was a glowing red label. Fail-safe protocol. Level black. Do not access without consent. They opened it anyway. Inside was a file structure written in human code. Ancient Earth code, uncrackable by council systems. The scientists used old translators. Digging line by line, the top-level file was simple. Trigger sequence, hold for review. They brought it to the council. Velen begged them not to share it with Drexus. But it was already too late. In the next emergency meeting, Drexus was handed the decrypted file. His eyes lit up like fire. This, he said, raising the data crystal high, is what we've been waiting for. The humans left us a key to control what they'd built, to restart. The systems they shut down. It's not a key, Velen warned. It's a test. Drexus ignored her. There's a button, a command sequence. The humans called it failsafe unlock. I say we activate it. Take back control of their tech, don't, Velen said, standing now. Everything we've seen, the silence, the message, the shutdowns, it all leads to this. They wanted to see what we would do with power we didn't earn, Shield added. And if this is a trap, then we survive it, Drexus said. Or we prove we deserve to rule. Counselor. Yeren stood slowly. No. We prove that we've already failed. But Drexus had made up his mind. He turned to the tech sitting at the main console. Activate the command, said. The room froze. Now, the technician looked at Velen. She shook her head once, but Drexus slammed the table again. That's an order. The tech entered the sequence. 6 numbers. One final press. Failsafe unlock. Engaged. The screen went black. Somewhere far away, in a part of space with no planets, no stations, no ships, a signal pulsed. It spread like a ripple. Silent, invisible, touching systems across the galaxy. First came the lights. Thousands of stars flickered, just for a second. Not enough to be noticed by the average? Aye, but enough for those who were watching. Then came the sound. Low, slow, like a heartbeat. Sound that no one should have heard, but every device heard it. Every ship, every terminal, every AI, every system that had once touched human hands. Boom, boom, boom. And then came the voice. No one knew where it came from. It spoke in every language at once, on every frequency. You were warned, you were given time, you were remembered, and now you'll understand. Back in the council chamber, the lights flickered. Every screen went dark. Every AI froze. One by one, emergency systems activated, then shut down. No one moved. No one spoke. Because in that moment, they realized they had just made the ultimate mistake. The council chamber was quiet. No systems responded. No screens turned on. Even the emergency backup generators stayed offline. The entire planet felt wrong in orbit above. Thousands of starships floated, powerless, frozen, drifting. Crews panicked. Pilots screamed into dead cums. AI assistants stopped, mid-sentence, and never restarted. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't sabotage. This was punishment. Counselor Drexus stood in the middle of the silent chamber, his face pale, his voice gone. He had pressed the button. He had triggered the failsafe. And now, everything was broken. Velen moved slowly through the chamber. Her steps echoed on the cold marble floor. Round her, other counselors were frozen in place, some still seated, some standing, none speaking. Finally, someone whispered, "What did we just do?" Velen didn't answer. She already knew. The humans didn't hide. A weapon in the failsafe file? They hid a question. One that the galaxy had, answered the wrong way. Down in the Council's deep archives, far beneath the main city, emergency lights flickered back to life, but only in one room, the Forbidden Archive. It was sealed behind 10 layers of security, human-designed, never breached, and never fully understood. No one went inside. No one had clearance until now. Without warning, the door unlocked with a loud hiss, and it opened itself. Inside, only one item remained. A large, black cube, simple, smooth, and humming faintly. It had no buttons, no markings, just one glowing circle in its center, and above it, a message appeared on the wall in glowing red human script. You pressed the wrong button? 2 technicians were sent to investigate. They entered the room. Carefully, weapons drawn, but no alarms triggered. No resistance met them, just the cube, and a low, pulsing hum like a heartbeat. One technician moved closer. "What is it?" the other asked. He reached out and touched the cube. A blast of light knocked both of them to the floor. Up above in the main chamber, systems blinked once, then came back online. But nothing was the same. The lights were dimmer. The air felt colder. The language on every terminal had changed. Now everything was written in Terran standard, human code, human control, and at the center of every screen, a new word blinked. Double quotes. Dot double quotes. DREX is shouted. Reverse it. Shot it down. The technicians on the upper deck screamed back, "We can't. It's not responding. The system won't take orders." Velen watched silently. The humans hadn't taken control. They had handed it over to something else, something older, something buried deep inside the network, something no one had ever seen. She turned to Counselor Shiel. They didn't build a weapon. They built a judge. Shiel frowned. "What do you mean?" "This system isn't here to destroy us," Velen said. "It's here to watch, to decide." Suddenly, a projection formed in the air. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It wasn't anything at all, just light and sound, a voice with no face. Failsafe protocol confirmed. Trigger. Unauthorized override. Review. Galactic stability threat level. Critical. Outcome. Assessment initiated. The council stared. The voice. Continued. Access granted to human observational record. Subject Galactic Council behavior. Timeframe. Last 300 standard cycles. And the walls changed all around them. Holograms lit up. Memories recorded by humans. Some showed human diplomats being ignored. Others showed council members mocking human peace offers. Still others showed secret votes, plans to slowly remove humanity from power. Velen recognized some of the faces. She remembered the meetings. The lies, the betrayals, they were all here, recorded, played back like evidence. Drexus shouted, "Turn it off." "This is an attack," the voice replied immediately. "You gave consent when you activated the failsafe. Observation is not attack. Review is not war. But failure has consequences." The screens went black, in deep space, far beyond Council. Borders, 6 black ships appeared. No one saw them arrive. They did not use gates, they simply existed. They were smooth. No weapons, no visible crew. Each ship was the same size as a small moon. It was perfectly silent. They sent no signals. They demanded nothing. They only moved slow, steady, and always toward one thing: the Council homeworld. Back in the chamber, panic had started. Ambassadors yelled. Technicians ran. Security teams locked down exits. But the systems didn't respond. The failsafe had disabled weapons, disabled escape routes, disabled overrides. Only one path was open: the forbidden archive, the cube. Velen stood up. "We need to go down there," she said. Drexus stared at her. "What are you talking about?" "It's the only thing still active. The humans left it for this moment. Maybe it's not a weapon. Maybe it's a door." Drexus hissed. "You'd trust them after this?" "After what they've done?" Velen replied calmly. "They trusted us first. And we betrayed them. This is the result." He didn't answer. She walked to the lift. Only 2 others followed her: Counselor Shiel and Counselor Yaren. The rest stayed behind, frozen by fear, as the lift dropped into the deep earth. Velen watched the red emergency lights flicker across the walls. The hum grew louder, the heartbeat of the cube. They reached the chamber. The cube stood waiting, untouched, glowing slightly. Velen stepped forward. No guards, no codes, no passwords. Just a choice. She placed her hand on the cube. It spoke in the human voice they had all heard before. "You were given time. Now your time belongs to the ones you ignored. Speak your defense." She looked at the others, then back at the cube. And for the first time, Council didn't send a vote, didn't send a lawyer, didn't send a fleet. Velen just spoke 3 words. "I remember them." The cube pulsed once, then stopped. Above, across the stars, the 6 black ships halted. No weapons fired, no signals sent. They just waited. The test wasn't over, but maybe, just maybe, the galaxy still had a chance to pass. The heartbeat stopped. No more pulsing, no more hum. The cube sat still, silent, cold. Velen kept her hand on it, waiting for something, anything. Behind her, Counselor Shiel whispered, "Did it work?" Velen didn't answer. She didn't know. The cube hadn't replied. The voice hadn't returned. The black ships above the Council's world still hovered, watching. Then the lights in the chamber flickered once, twice. Then they all turned white. In the Council chamber above, every terminal lit up again, no longer red. No longer Terran standard now. A single white screen displayed 1 line of text in every known language. Assessment: humanity withdrew. The Council failed. The sentence blinked twice, then changed. Final review begins now. And then came the real moment of terror. A countdown. Not in seconds, in heartbeats. Boom, boom, boom. Every screen echoed the sound. Every ship, every station, every personal device in the galaxy. 10 heartbeats. That was all they had. Deep in the control stations orbiting the Council homeworld. Panic took hold. Fleet commanders begged for weapons to come online. Tactical A is refused. Commands, escape shuttles wouldn't launch. Even private ships couldn't lift from the surface. Engines wouldn't engage. The humans had planned this perfectly. No, One could flee, not the powerful, not the guilty, not even the innocent, back in the vault. Velen stared at the cube. It remained cold. No voice, no light. She stepped back. We failed. The test? It's over. Counselor Yaren stepped beside her. There's always one more choice.
Oh.
Then, to everyone's shock, he placed both of his hands on the cube and began to speak, not in Thalari, not in any common tongue, but in broken human English. We learn. We make mistake, but we remember. We listen now, please, let us. His voice shook. The words weren't perfect, but the cube lit up softly. Just one small pulse of blue, the countdown. On the screens across the galaxy froze. 3 heartbeats remained. The voice returned. This time, not cold, not judgmental, just tired. 1. Among you spoke truth. 1 among you remembered. 1 among you tried. The cube glowed brighter. Failsafe process paused. Judgment held. In orbit, the black ships moved for the first time. They turned slowly, precisely, and began to drift away, not back into deep space, but toward human space. Empty space. Or so the galaxy thought. The cube pulsed once more and spoke its final line. We are not your enemies. We were your lesson. Then it shut down. The lights returned to normal. The systems rebooted, and the humans were gone again. But not in silence this time. This time, they left a trail. 2 days later, a small scout ship launched from the Council world. No weapons. No backup. No plan. Just a pilot, a young alien named Alren, who had once served on a human freighter and had always wondered why they treated even enemies with honor. He followed the trail. Strange pulses in space. Faint signals just beyond. Normal sensors, it led him to a place the maps called Sector Null. No stars, no planets, just cold, empty, dark, dark. And then, light. Thousands of tiny beacons blinked on in the distance, forming a pattern, a path. And at the end of that path, a station human in design. Old, massive. Silent but active. The ship docked. No resistance, no defense systems. Just a single word blinking on a screen at the airlock. Welcome. Back at the Council, debates erupted. Had they passed the test? Was the galaxy being watched? Had humanity evolved beyond flesh? Or had they always planned to vanish? Belen didn't know the answer, but she knew this. The humans hadn't. Abandoned the galaxy, they had elevated themselves above it, and they had left something behind. Not weapons, not threats, but memory, and maybe mercy. 1 week later, every child born across the known systems received a strange digital file, embedded into their education tablets. No one installed it, no one sent it, but it was there. A single sentence burned into the center of each file. Power is not proven by war. It is proven by what you choose not to destroy. And underneath it, in small white text, Terra the stars bent. That's how it felt, above the Council's world. The space around orbit shimmered, not like light, not like heat. It bent, like something large was pushing through reality itself. No wormhole, no gate. Just arrival. One ship, sleek, dark, silent. It didn't match any known registry. Not Council, not trade, not pirate. And yet, every system on the planet recognized. It instantly Terraned. Design. But different. Sharper, more advanced, more quiet. Alarms rang across the upper fleets. Defense platforms lit up, weapons primed, AI systems whispered warnings, but no one fired. Because the ship didn't aim its weapons. It didn't power shields. It didn't even send a message. It just waited. Right, above the Council inside the chamber. Drexus stood once again, nervous this time. His voice, once full of pride and control, trembled at the edges. They've returned, he said. We have to respond. We must show strength. Velen stood slowly. She'd stopped arguing with Drexus. He didn't listen. She turned instead to the central screen, now blinking with a new signal. Incoming transmission. Unknown origin. Accept. No name. No encryption. She pressed yes. Screen turned to black. Then a voice, smooth, calm, not loud, male, Terran, English. We are not here for revenge. We're here for understanding. The failsafe was not meant to punish. It was meant to reveal. Silence. Then the screen showed something none of them expected. A human, but different. His eyes were bright, metallic. His skin had the softness of flesh, but the glow of something more, not synthetic, not alien, evolved. He looked directly into the chamber. We left because we had outgrown the old rules. We watched as the council repeated the mistakes of history. We offered peace. You took advantage. So we gave you space to choose who you would become. He paused. You chose ambition. The room remained silent. No one dared speak. Velen felt something shift deep inside her. This wasn't the human race she remembered. They hadn't built new weapons. They had built new thinking. They hadn't returned for war. They had returned to witness the consequences. The man continued. The failsafe judged you not for your technology, but for your response to power when no one stood in your way. You reached for the trigger, but a few among you pulled back. The screen faded to black again. Then the voice said, "Send your chosen. One voice, one heart, one final chance. You have until the next dawn." Counselor Drexus exploded. This is manipulation. This is control. We will not kneel to ghosts. Velen turned to him, voice steady. It's not kneeling. It's listening. She looked around the chamber. They could have erased us, shut down everything. Taken control? They didn't. Because they want control without firing a shot, Drexus hissed. No, she said, because they want proof we're worth speaking to. The chamber debated for hours. Accusations flew. Blame bounced from one race to another. But beneath it all, fear pulsed like blood. In the end, there was no vote, because the decision had already been made. Counselor Velen would go. Not because she was the strongest, but because she had remembered. At dawn, a shuttle launched from the planet, small, unarmed, alone. It moved slowly toward the Terran ship. As it approached, its systems shut down gently, not forcefully. Lights dimmed, gravity softened, then the shuttle vanished. Not exploded, not pulled in, just gone, as if absorbed into the black vessel's hull. Inside, Velen opened her eyes. She was standing. No shuttle, no walls. It's just open white space. And across from her, the same man from the transmission. He smiled softly. "Thank you for coming," she nodded. "Thank you for not destroying us." He walked forward, hands behind his back. "Came because you remembered. That was the test. Not memory of war, or alliance, or trade, but memory of our warning. That power is measured by restraint." She asked the question the galaxy had been waiting to ask. "Why did you leave?" He paused. "Because we no longer needed to stay. And because we needed to know if you could grow without us." She asked the second question. "Are we ready now?" Kindly, not cruelly, just honestly, almost. But not yet. He raised one hand. In the air, a map of the galaxy appeared, glowing, turning, filled with dots and data points. You still have wars, you still cheat your weakest, you still lie for power. He looked into her eyes. "Of you are changing. That is why we returned." Then he said something she didn't expect. "This was never about saving you. It was about giving you the choice to save yourselves." And with that, the light faded. Velen felt herself falling, but softly, gently. When she opened her eyes again, she was back in her shuttle, floating just above the council planet. The Terran ship was gone. No flash, no sound, just stars. The council was quiet for the first time in memory. No votes were held, no speeches made, no declarations of pride, defense, or strategy, just silence, because Velen had returned, and she had returned. Changed, she stood before the entire high chamber, her voice low but clear. "They don't rule us. They never wanted to. They want us to choose who we are. Drexes glared at her from across the room. So what? We do nothing now? Wait for ghosts and black ships to judge our every move? Velen shook her head. No. We look at ourselves. The humans didn't vanish. They evolved. And we never asked. How? That question burned through every species in the galaxy now. How had humanity disappeared so completely? What had they become? And where had they gone? Alren, the scout who had once found the mysterious Terran beacon in Sector Null, was summoned again. He had seen something the others hadn't. He spoke softly before the chamber. There was a pulse. In deep space, just outside our mapped borders. It wasn't a ship, it was something else. Live, maybe. The Council authorized a covert mission. Small, fast, quiet, they didn't dare bring a fleet. They didn't want to appear like invaders. This was a search for truth. The ship cut through dark sectors beyond charted space. Then it reached the edge. Not of space, but of something else. A kind of membrane. Sensors blinked. The stars behind them blurred. Time slowed. And then they passed through on the other side. The galaxy looked different, colors deeper, space thicker, and in front of them, floating in the void. A massive structure unlike anything known. Dyson shell, built around a collapsed star, black as death, radiating thought. It wasn't just generating power, it was thinking, living connected to something beyond. Even quantum networks. Inside the shell, they were met, not by weapons, not by machines, but by voices. Thousands, millions, all human. One voice spoke for them all. You came looking for us. Not for war, not for help, but to understand. A humanoid figure appeared before the crew, not flesh, not metal. Energy shaped like a person, glowing faint blue, like memory made real. We did not flee. We transcended. The crew listened. Stunned, the voice continued. The body was a limitation. The mind, bound by fear. So we let go. We became light. We became code. We became everywhere. But we left behind echoes, triggers, tests, to see if you had learned from us, or forgotten us. Then, the figure showed them something, a star map, but not of planets or systems, of memories, faint lights glowing where humanity had once helped, healed, protected, each light. A seed, we did not destroy ourselves, we uploaded. The body ends, but knowledge continues. Consciousness continues. One of the crew asked, "Why show us this now?" The figure turned to them, "Because you knocked on the door, did not come with fire." The voice faded. The ship was pushed back, not by force, but by acceptance. The Dyson shell disappeared behind a shimmering veil once again. They returned. Home changed. Not by what they saw, but by what they didn't. When the Council heard the report, there was disbelief, even fear. Humanity turned into energy. One counselor asked. "No," Velen said quietly. They turned into hope. And just like that, things began to change. Slowly, subtly. Treaties rewritten. New. Laws passed. Old wounds examined. Because now the galaxy knew there was someone still. Watching, not to conquer, but to guide. They called it the last signal. It arrived without warning. No. Ship no lights. Just a pulse. A wave of silent data. Spreading across every communication channel in the galaxy, encrypted in no known code, yet understood instantly by every species, every AI, every living mind. It was not a message of war. It was not a threat. It was a gift. Velen stood in the Central Council chamber as the message unfolded in the air above her. The walls turned dark, then shimmered with images from Earth's past. Not battles, not conquests, but moments. A child helping a fallen soldier, an old man planting a tree on a ruined street, a scientist weeping at the discovery of water on a dying moon, a Terran family, hand in hand, watching the stars from a collapsing outpost. Each moment was a story. Each story was a reminder of what humanity used to be, of what they still chose to become. The voice returned, at the cold machine tone. Of alien languages, but the warm, simple voice that had spoken before. You feared us. You hunted us. You waited for revenge. But we are not your enemy. We are your mirror. Across thousands of systems, screens flickered to life. Farmers, miners, engineers, warriors, elders, children all watched, all listened. We are what you might become if you choose peace over fear, creation over conquest, patience over pride. And then the most important words came. We are leaving again. Because now you remember us. But more importantly, you remember yourselves. Across the galaxy, stars flickered. Some said it was just solar activity. Others believed it was. The ships, the Terran ships, leaving one by one, not into hyperspace, but into something deeper. A dimension beyond even the Council's knowledge. A place where no war could reach them, where only thought and choice remained. Back on the Council world, Bellin looked to the stars. No one spoke. No one argued. No one dared break the silence, because for once, the galaxy understood. This wasn't about who had the biggest fleet, the strongest weapons, or the most votes. It was about what came after power. The Terrans had left them with no technology, no map, no demands, only one final image. A small, simple sign glowing in the sky above every capital world. For words, written in ancient Earth language, make it worth it. Some believed the humans were gods now. Others believed they had become energy. But the truth was simpler and greater. They had become legacy. Because when the stars went silent and the Council pressed the one button they shouldn't have, it didn't end a species. It began a lesson.